What's going on, everybody? Jeff Fuller, Jay Fuller Interviews with you. You can certainly can find this interview and others at Jay Fuller Interviews on YouTube, the Facebook group, Instagram, and Twitter. We always promote upcoming guests. And right now we have another great one. This is a Vermont legend, the one, the only BJ Robertson. BJ, good to have you with us.
Thanks, Jeff. It's nice to be on. How you doing?
I'm doing well. So on Instagram, it's blueprint_basketball VT, and you kind of had your season disrupted as you do a lot of player development and AAU. How did COVID-19 impact, especially the AAU program you already had prepared and planned for this year?
Um, it definitely was interrupted. We had actually tryouts this Sunday, the week before kind of everything started shutting down. So we had a Sunday tryout. Then I think we started our practices that Wednesday. And then we shut everything down on Thursday and going into that weekend. It started off rough, everyone with the quarantine and had to shut down for a few weeks, and then the month passed, and it was kind of that ticking bomb when it's like, when is this going to be over? So time went on, and then the weather got nice a little bit. Things started to open up a little bit, and we were able to get some kids outdoors for small group sessions and individual sessions to get some work in. So we're starting to bounce back a little bit, but it definitely was a struggle in the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. A couple months in, and still seems like it's taken forever. But BJ
Mhm.
Robertson, where did you grow up, and was basketball your first love?
I grew up in Burlington, Vermont, and basketball was not my first love growing up. I liked it. I definitely did like it. I don't think I really started loving it until probably middle school. And during middle school, I went to Hunt Middle School, and that's kind of when I started finding my passion for it. Playing with a bunch of my friends, and we play every day after school. So,
What was your first love as far as sports?
oh God, I'd have to say football. But with my build growing up, it's definitely not a football player. Uh, Believe it or not, I did have some size, in early middle school. Then I started to thin out very quickly and realized I think basketball is going to be it for me. So stuck with basketball after.
Now you have an older brother, correct?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Now, is it just the two of you, or you have a sister, right?
I have a younger sister as well, Brittany. She actually went to Johnson State College and went to Burlington High School as well too. She played basketball both at Burlington High School and at Johnson. I believe she still holds the 3-point record for most threes made there. So
Yeah.
out of the three of us, I'd say she's the shooter. So
Well, I remember Coach X saying that when she first came, she said she wasn't a shooter, so it didn't take her long to figure it out. But BJ,
yeah.
having an older brother, did he beat up on you? Is that why you did not like basketball maybe until you were older? Or was that something where you wanted to be like him, so you decided to follow in his footsteps and really go the way of basketball?
I'd say it's both. He did definitely used to beat up on me in the backyard growing up, and then I'd tag along whenever he went to the Pomeroy Park or Roosevelt Park or whatever summer league that they're playing in. And yeah, he definitely did beat me up in the backyard. But then following him, through high school and trying to wanting to follow his footsteps and lead the way he did at Burlington High School. So definitely had some big shoes to fill.
Well, I'm not going to ask who the better player was or who had the better career, but I know for me, my older brother certainly was a lot better basketball player, scored a lot more points and all of that. I did find my identity and come into my own later. And that was just really a cool feeling to have my brother really come up to me instead of sharing thoughts of what I could do better. He just recognized that I had found my own identity. When did that happen for you, where you weren't trying to imitate your brother, but you were just BJ and you were just doing your thing?
Yeah, yeah. For a while, I was just kind of following along, trying to tag along and do exactly what my brother was doing. And I don't think it was probably till a freshman, sophomore year in high school where I was like, this is like, I'm a different player from my brother, different style, somewhat of a different era. But it was it was definitely different growing up, knowing that we're not the same player growing up, and as you grow up with your older brother, you want to be better, so you're like thinking of different ways to be better. So yeah, nah.
So, BJ, when you went to Burlington, first question is: were there other minorities playing on the basketball team, or even in school that you related to? Was it difficult fitting in, or growing up here? Did it just kind of help navigate your way through just Vermont life?
Yeah, no, I had some minority friends, definitely for sure, that kind of helped me get through middle school and high school. I had two really good friends, Muji and Hussein, actually, who played football at Burlington High School. They went on to play at UNH. I had one of my other teammates, Jerry Guillory. He was younger than me. So it was like a close knit group that we had growing up. Um, and I think it made it a little bit more comfortable, especially in Vermont, growing up with those friends and being close with them and still actually talking to them till today. So.
Now, tell me a little bit about your high school playing experience. Did you make varsity as a freshman? When did the coach really notice you? And when did you feel like your teammates were really supporting you and you guys had a good squad on the floor?
Yeah, I made varsity my freshman year. And funny thing is, my dad was happened to be the assistant coach at the time, and I know there was a lot of backlash of like, oh, why is this freshman, in varsity? And people didn't know exactly, my game or really who I was. They knew I was Manny's little brother, but they didn't know what I could do as a player. And I think realistically, it was the second week of practice. We had first week of trials, then we had practice the second week, and that I think the coach realized that I was there and I was a player and I wanted to play. I wanted to be the best player I could be, and kind of worked my way up before the season even started to get into cracking the starting lineup. And I think it was the third or fourth game I started at Burlington High School, and kind of never looked back from there.
And then following high school, you went on to play at St. Mike's. What was that transition like for you? Did you want to stay close to home? Talk us through that.
Um, at the time, I didn't kind of really care. I was actually wanted to go play somewhere for basketball, and obviously get a great education too. Then my head coach from Burlington was a St. Mike's alum, and he recommended St. Mike's and got in contact with them, and they came to a few of my AAU tournaments in the spring and recruited me. And at first, I did not get offered a scholarship, and kind of same thing, in the college transition, it was a huge difference physically for me to make that adjustment. But I kind of figured out a way to get through that, got a little bit stronger, tightened up my game a little bit more, and then I got offered a scholarship the following year, sophomore, junior, senior year. So.
So just persistence and sticking with it kind of leads to that. It's kind of fun just hearing your story and watching you, and then you got to play with the Frost Thieves for a little bit. But before that, I just want to break in. Mike Chaffee, I played pickup with. This was a few years ago, and he definitely seemed like the best basketball player on the floor for this pickup. It's just a lunch bunch that we were playing. And I
Uh-huh.
remember one day, I think you were with the Frost Thieves at the time. You came, and I love Mike. No disrespect to Mike. He's a very, very good player. But man, you gave him fit. And maybe it was your size. And it's just interesting because you've shared before that you like to shoot. But it was more than that. You just could handle the ball. I mean, you just move so well. When you talk about the different levels of basketball, especially coaching AAU, how do you describe that to your younger players that they just see a bum in the NBA and they think he's a bum, but they're very talented as well?
That's tough to explain. I mean, I think about this all the time. Like you watch the NBA, you look at the 10th, 11th, 12th man, you put them in a pickup game, kind of anywhere in the nation, and they're going to stick out like a sore thumb. It just kind of goes to shows the difference of like your talent level and how everything has to be all together. Your size, your quickness, your shooting skills, your basketball, your ball handling skills. It's all got to be top notch. And then the bonus is your size. If you're 6'8", 6'7", 250 pounds, that makes a huge
Yeah.
difference. So I think, it's kind of got to be the perfect storm, when you're at that level in the NBA or professional level, I should say.
So fortunately for me, I knew a guy that knew all you basketball guys, and so I kind of got to know you through Bob Shed, and so it's just pretty cool how that happened for me. But did you ever have a rival that you kind of didn't like or you played against, and there was that rivalry, but then once you got to know them, you became good friends? I just think of like Chris Kyle. I think you played together, well, on the Frost Teams and possibly at St. Mike's as well. But I just think as teammates are so critically important just for life and your development as a young adult. But was there anyone that you just didn't know if you really enjoyed being around, and then over time you really became good friends?
Yeah, and yeah, I did play with Chris for a while. We played against each other in high school, but we played AAU together, so we kind of,
Mm,
we're on the same page, kind of during the season as well. I definitely would have to probably say Mike Perez. He was a
yeah,
standout player at Spalding High School, and from freshman year to my senior year, it was a battle. Every two games each season. We battled against each other. A lot of people came out just to see us play against each other. Um, but I definitely would say him. Funny thing with that is that we got to play in the All Hamburg game, the Vermont versus New
yeah.
Hampshire game, and we got to hang out that whole week prior to it up at UVM, and me and him became like pretty much best friends after
Hmm.
that, and hung out all summer and stayed connected. So I definitely probably have to say Mike during high school for sure.
So with Blueprint Basketball, and you do a lot more than AAU, you do a lot of player development stuff as well. But when you're having a couple kids in your clinic that might not get along, what do you draw from to help them understand that chemistry, communication is a huge part of life, not just basketball?
Yeah, I mean, I explain that a lot, and I'm kind of fortunate to not really have that in my program as much. But when it does arise, I call it out, for what it is in front of the whole team. Not disrespectfully, but I just, acknowledge it. Hey, listen, you guys might be bumping heads, and that's what it is. But when you're on the court and we're practicing or we're in the game, we're a team. We need each other. So just kind of outlining it early enough and showcasing it so that they understand the value of a team. And not everyone's going to like each other, not everyone's going to get along, but when you have one job to do, you got to get that job done.
When I interviewed Chris Kyle, he mentioned that defense was something that he really learned how to play, but something that he really has worked on developing. When you have young players, any players, how important is proper defense? It seems like everybody wants to score, and as you get older, can score. But how important is that defensive factor and learning at a young age that grind and hustle?
Yeah, yeah, defense became a huge thing for me at kind of halfway through college, and then after college mainly. As you know, Will Voigt was a big defensive guy, and I think all my kids that I coach still let you know that defense is huge for our program, huge in my mind. I think it sets the tempo for the game. You can dictate it by how much energy you have, which is something you can control as well. You can't control your made shots or turnovers sometimes, but you can definitely control the energy that you bring to the game.
Now, growing up in Vermont, did you grow up a Celtics fan, or was there another team you like to follow?
Oh God, yeah, I was definitely a Bulls fan. Jordan, all the way. And obviously, we got to watch the documentary. I watched it with my kids, and trying to explain to them it's not always about the talent; it's about kind of the heart and the mindset. And I feel like Jordan was one of those players in the NBA that that separated him, was just his mentality and his drive for excellence.
Yeah, I really enjoyed The Last Dance. I asked TJ Sorrentine, former UVM alum, about how he was on the court, and he said sometimes players did not like him because he was so passionate and driven, and it could have come across the wrong way. But I love in that
Mhm.
documentary how Jordan says there's a price to winning. For you, were you more of a vocal leader, or did you just lead by example how you played?
Yeah, I definitely led by example. Was not very vocal. I'm almost too vocal now, even as a coach and playing as well too. I talk all the time. And as you get older, you start to learn those little things that are very important in the game of basketball. Working hard, bringing that energy, being vocal on the court. And again, I led by example, so I just busted my butt every day in practice and during the games to kind of show that this is what we need to be doing.
How did you respond to vocal coaches or teammates when you were younger?
Um, Boy, I think that's kind of made me the coach I am, was having
Mm.
all different types of coaches. I've had the coaches that would scream up and down. I had the coaches that would just kind of like pat me on the back and say everything's okay. To coaches that would really break it down and talk to me. I think the mixtures of having many coaches, kind of created who I am today as a person and as a coach, which I felt was a blessing. So.
Yeah. Hey, I love the stories, the Vermont Frost Heaves. I mean, it was just certainly in my wheelhouse. And it's so funny because, at least I thought, I mean, I was a grown man, but professional basketball in Vermont, being a huge sports guy, I just loved it. It was just awesome. And then just seeing some of the local guys like you and Dana Martin and Chris playing on that team. Talk about that opportunity. When did you hear about it? How did you make the team? What were tryouts like?
Yeah, it was kind of ironic. As soon as I graduated from St. Mike's, as soon as I graduated from St. Mike's, there was an announcement that we'd be having a semi-pro team in Vermont, and the tryouts would be over the summer. And I remember actually I was working the St. Mike's boys camp, and I had to leave early to go shoot over to the tryout. But yeah, it was kind of perfect timing, and once I figured it out that they were going to be in town, I was like, I might as well give this a shot. I was looking to try to go over and play overseas somewhere, but I was like, I might as well, stick this out, see how this goes, and see what happens.
So when you first got to the tryout or made the team, were you surprised at the level of athleticism and talent that was assembled on that floor?
Um, Not so much of the size, but as the athleticism. Yeah,
Mhm.
combined with the size, we had some big guys, 6'7",
Yeah.
6'8", could jump out the gym. Some of them could handle it. Some of them could shoot it. It was a good mixture of guys that were at that tryout and ended up being on the team as well too. Yeah.
So I was an assistant at Harwood, and so I got to know Tatum Nelson, Eric Nelson's daughter, and then I remember Ross
Yes.
DeMasi being a Vermonter.
Yes.
Those guys could really play, but they really understood their role. How important is it for players to know to star in their role, as Alan Stein likes to say?
Yeah, no, I mean it's very important. We all grow up wanting to be the man, but that you can't have 12 guys being the man on a team. Sometimes you just got to find your role, find your niche, which creates that team. Everyone needs a ball handler, defensive player, shooter, rebounder, guy that can block shots. But it's very important. It's what I think creates championship teams. Understanding your role and the value your role brings too. That it's not just underlooked.
Now, being a part of just a basketball family, of basketball culture in Vermont, it's just funny for me when you look at like Vermont basketball players. Your name is always one that comes up, and it's just kind of cool to see. But do you realize that basketball, especially in Vermont, is such a small, close knit community?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I still do get surprised by, how small it is. And then after I think about it, I'm like, well, I'm not that surprised because it's basketball. It's a small world. And then the connections you make, from in-state to out-of-state, and even people out of state knowing people in state. So it definitely is a small world, and in the sense of people knowing each other, and uh, understanding the paths that each person's made as well too.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to hear different coaches that know of you and they just recommend you and what Blueprint Basketball is about, not just player development, but the character that you're building as well. So, a couple questions that I'll get you out, but where did
Oh
that
yeah.
character come from, that development? Was that something like your parents instilled in you? Did you just have a revelation when you get older just to mature and really show character and integrity?
Yeah, I think definitely my parents kind of installed that in me. And again, I think it was just a maturity thing. As I got older, I started understanding like, how to carry yourself as a person. And then, uh, on my behalf, trying to, showcase that and bring that to kids, of the youth and of different cultures to understand like, basketball is like this tool that you can use and doesn't mean you have to be a Division 1 basketball player or a professional player, but you can use it to get somewhere in life as well too.
Yeah, for sure. Hey,
Mhm.
when's the last time, not exposing any violated restrictions, but when's the last time you played a pickup basketball game?
Oh, geez. Before quarantine, yeah, for sure. I haven't played since before then.
Now, as a
Oh man.
player, do you have more joy crossing somebody up and making them fall over, hitting a three in their face, or getting a big block shot or steal?
To be honest, and this would be in high school, is probably dunking on someone. Um, I remember I was at the Memorial Auditorium and one of my teammates threw an alley oop from out of bounds underneath on the baseline, and I remember just catching it at off 2 feet, two hands, and over the guy, and he like jumped up to try to get it as if it was a rebound, and I remember just the place went crazy, and all I did was smile running back. So yeah,
That's the best talk you can do most times, is
yeah,
just
yep,
smile and get
just
back
smile and
on
run
duty.
back.
So,
Yeah,
hey, BJ, thanks so much for making the time. It's always fun to catch up. And Father's Day just happened. You have two boys.
yes.
Do you hope that they follow in your basketball footsteps? And if they don't, are you okay with it?
So yeah, I got two boys and actually my little daughter as well too. But I mean, I think, as a parent playing basketball, coaching basketball, I would love if they, continued on with basketball as they are right now. But, I just tell them the same thing, like, listen, do what you want to do what makes you happy in life. If basketball, again, is a tool for you, then that's great. But if it's not your thing, we're not going to force it upon you. I never, want to force anything upon, especially the kids. They're young, they're still learning. They have time and to develop on themselves. Um, my daughter, on the other hand, she's all over the place. She does gymnastics, she does dance, she does basketball, she does soccer. So uh, soon it'll weed out, and we'll see what happens as well too. So
Or it might not weed out. My daughter, she's going into her junior year, and if there's a sign up for something, she's signing up.
you're
So it's
signing up. Yes, yeah,
it's kind of
that's
crazy.
exactly how my daughter is. Yeah, yeah.
But hey, BJ, thanks again for making the time. Wish you all the best, and we'll catch up again. We're going to get some of you guys out golfing, so
Yes,
we'll
that'd be
just
great.
swing the sticks and get lots of laughs. So that'll be a lot of fun.
It sounds good, Jeff.
All right, BJ. Again, that's BJ Robertson, Blueprint Basketball. You can find more on Instagram, Blueprint_basketball Vermont. And this is Jay Fuller Interviews, YouTube. Subscribe, and we'll be back with more interviews for your listening enjoyment coming up soon. All right, thanks all.